My best friend got my fiancée pregnant. So I broke his jaw, called off the wedding and burned every bridge to the people who raised me. They're all texting now, all sorry now, but sorry doesn't rebuild anything. I never thought I'd be the guy with a story like this, but here we are, and I need to put it somewhere before it eats me alive. My name's Theo. I'm 31, and 4 days ago I would have told you my life was finally clicking into place. Senior estimator at a commercial construction firm in Charlotte. Good money, a townhouse I actually owned instead of rented. And Yasmin, my fiancée of 14 months. We were 11 weeks out from the wedding. I had the seating chart in a spreadsheet on my laptop right now. Yasmin and I met at a co-worker's housewarming 6 years ago. She was finishing up her CPA license. Sharp as hell, the kind of woman who corrected your grammar, in a way that somehow made you like her more. We dated 2 years. Broke up for reasons neither of us could really name. Got back together 18 months after that. Because absence makes you stupid sometimes. And I proposed on a hiking trail in the Blue Ridge, with a ring I'd been paying off for 9 months. My best friend Beckett has been mine since 7th grade. We grew up 2 streets apart, in the same subdivision outside Charlotte. He was always the one people gravitated to, without trying. Funnier than me, looser than me, the guy who could walk into a bar and leave with 4 new friends, and a free round. He does freelance video production now, weddings mostly, ironically enough, plus some corporate stuff. I was the one who got him his first paying gig shooting a coworker's reception. I was his best man. He was supposed to be mine. My mother adored him like a second son. Why can't you laugh more like Beckett? She used to say, half joking, the way mothers do when they're not really joking. I never resented it growing up. He earned the room. I just didn't need the room the way he did. The last couple months, something in Yasmin had shifted. She started picking up client dinners that ran past 9. Said her firm was slammed with a corporate audit. She'd always been private about her phone, but lately it felt different. Face down on the counter, taken into the bathroom. A flinch if it buzzed while we were eating. It's just work, Theo. Can I have 2 minutes without an interrogation? I let it go. Because I had a wedding to plan and a job that had me on 3 different job sits a week. And because you don't go digging for problems in a relationship you're about to legally bind yourself to. Beckett had been around more too. He'd swing by to drop off the engagement shoot proofs and end up staying for dinner. He fixed her car battery. One Saturday I was working a Saturday shift downtown. He started a group text just between the 3 of us about wedding logistics that somehow turned into him and Yasmin texting separately about Vanner stuff. I thought that's just Beckett, good guy, showing up for us. 4 days ago, everything came apart. I was supposed to be on site until 6 that Tuesday, walking a steel delivery for a hospital expansion downtown. The crane operator called out sick and the whole schedule collapsed by 10 in the morning. Nothing to supervise. Nothing to do but stand around a parking lot full of rebar. So I left early, a little past 1. Yasmin's Subaru wasn't in the driveway when I pulled up, which barely registered. I figured she'd swung by the grocery store on her way home from a half day. I let myself in, dropped my keys in the bowl by the door, and went to grab a Gatorade from the fridge. That's when I saw it sitting on the kitchen island like it had been left there on purpose. A sonogram printout, glossy and black and white, tucked half under a stack of mail like someone had meant to hide it and gotten lazy. Or hadn't really tried at all. My first thought wasn't even suspicion. It was confusion. We weren't trying. We'd talked about kids, after the wedding after we'd both hit certain savings goals. Not now. Yasmin's had an IUD. We'd been careful about exactly this. I picked it up. The date stamp on the corner was 9 days old. And on the back in handwriting I'd have recognized blind. Beckett's all caps print, the same hand that had signed 1,000 birthday cards to me. 3 words. Can't wait, man. Not Kongschutz. Not so happy for you guys. Can't wait, man. Like he was already counting himself in. I sat down on a bar stool holding that photo for what felt like 10 minutes, but was probably 90 seconds. My hands weren't shaking, which surprised me later. Everything just went very still and very cold like. The floor had dropped 2 inches under the kitchen, and nobody else noticed. My phone buzzed. Yasmin. Running late, client thing ran long, don't wait on dinner. I looked at the sonogram, I looked at the text. And then I did something I'd never done in 6 years with this woman. I went looking for the truth instead of waiting for someone to hand it to me. First I photographed everything. The sonogram, front and back, then a video of myself finding it exactly where it sat. Because some part of my brain that wasn't panicking yet kept saying document. Document. Yasmin's car wasn't home, but I had a spare set of keys in the junk drawer for emergencies. I'd used them maybe twice in 3 years to move her car for street cleaning. I went out to the garage and checked her gym bag first. The one she'd started keeping zipped lately instead of tossed open by the door. Under a towel and a pair of running shoes. Prenatal vitamins. The same brand her sister had taken. The kind she used to complain gave her headaches when she didn't even need them. Back inside, I pulled up our shared finance app on my laptop. Yasmin had set us up on a joint tracking account for wedding expenses. Said it'd make budgeting easier. I'd genuinely never combed through it line by line. Why would I? We split everything, trusted everything. 5 months back, a Marriott in Asheville, $189. A weekend she'd told me was a girl's trip with her cousin. 3 months back, a steakhouse downtown, 2 charges same week, both around $80. Both on nights she said she was working late. 6 weeks back, a boutique hotel 40 minutes outside the city. The kind of place you book specifically because nobody you know would ever be there. My phone buzzed again. Don't wait up, this audit is brutal. I almost laughed. I kept going instead. In the hall closet, behind a shoebox of old yearbooks, I found a phone I didn't recognize. Cheap, prepaid, the kind you buy with cash at a drugstore. No passcode. Whoever set it up never thought anyone would be standing in this exact hallway holding it. 8 months of messages, all to one contact saved simply as B. Last night was the best one yet. I keep thinking about your hands. He's never going to look at you the way I do. You know that. When are you finally telling him? And then, more recent, more specific. The baby's going to change the timeline but not the plan. I'll take care of both of you, I promise. A few more months and we don't have to hide anymore. The last message, from that very morning, from Beckett. Did you leave it where we said, time to set things in motion? They'd planned it. They wanted me to find it. Standing in my own hallway holding 2 phones, mine and the one she'd hidden. I felt 8 months of betrayal land on me all at once. Every dinner, every client thing, every Sunday Beckett came by, just to help out. Replaying with a different soundtrack underneath it. I remembered my niece, 6 years old, telling me last week completely unprompted. Uncle Beckett brought Aunt Ya's flowers. I remembered thinking that was sweet. Every cell in my body wanted to call Yasmin right then. Wanted to drive to Beckett's studio and put him through one of his own light stands. But that's exactly what they'd planned for. The explosion, the scene, me losing it so Yasmin could play the wounded party who just made a mistake. So I didn't. I went back to the laptop. Downloaded every transaction. Screen recorded the burner phone, every thread, scrolling slow enough to capture timestamps. I uploaded it all to 2 separate cloud drives, and emailed copies to an account neither of them knew I had. Then I put the burner phone back exactly where I'd found it. Put the vitamins back under the towel. Left the sonogram precisely where it had been on the island, mail stacked the same way. At 6 I went and got my dry cleaning, because normal people do normal things, and because if I sat in that house alone with what I knew, I wasn't sure what I'd do. I made myself dinner. I watched half an episode of something I couldn't tell you the name of now. Yasmin came in at 9:45. Hey, sorry, this audit's killing me. She dropped her bag on the counter. Walked right past the sonogram without flinching, which told me everything about how many times she'd rehearsed walking past it. I'm wiped. Gonna shower? Sure, I said, not looking up from my laptop. She kissed the top of my head on her way upstairs. She smelled like a different perfume than the one I'd bought her for Christmas. Once I heard the water running, I pulled the burner phone back out. Typed as her, come by tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Theo's got a late site walk. We need to actually talk about telling him. Beckett replied in under a minute. Finally, I'll be there. I deleted the sent message and put the phone back. Then I went and sat in my truck in the garage for almost an hour. Not doing anything, just letting the plan settle. They wanted to tell me on their terms. Fine. They'd tell me on mine. I called out sick the next morning, first time in 4 years at that company. Told my super it was food poisoning. Yasmin barely glanced up from her coffee. You want me to stay home? Nah, I'm good. Just need to sleep it off. She kissed my forehead, that same automatic gesture she'd been running on for who knows how long, and left for work. The second her car cleared the corner, I moved. First the essentials. Both our birth certificates. The title to my truck, my passport. All the wedding deposit receipts. Into a lockbox I put in the truck bed under a tarp. I pulled $11,000 out of the joint wedding account. Exactly half of what was sitting in it. Into an account she didn't know existed. One I'd opened years ago and forgotten to mention. Because there'd never been a reason to. I changed every password, email, banking, the shared streaming logins, all of it. Then I set my phone up on the bookshelf behind some framed photos, angled at the kitchen, and hit record. Called a locksmith for an after-hours visit at 9 that night, paid the rush fee without blinking. Texted my super I'd need the next day off too. Texted Yasmin that a permit issue had blown up, and I'd be at the site office late. She replied with a thumbs up emoji. A thumbs up. 14 months engaged and that's what I got. The day crawled. I packed a duffel for myself and stashed it in the truck. Went through the burner phone again. Screenshotting more. Finding a folder buried on our shared cloud storage, labeled venue ideas. That was actually full of photos of the two of them. Restaurants, a hotel balcony. One from what looked like Beckett's studio with the lights down low. All time stamped across the last 8 months. At 7:40 I parked 2 streets over, and walked back to my own house like a stranger casing it. I waited in the garage with the door cracked enough to see the driveway. At 8:06, Beckett's gray Tahoe pulled in. He got out with a bottle of wine and a small gift bag. Walked up to my front door like he owned the welcome mat. I gave them 5 minutes. Then I walked in through my own front door. They were in the kitchen, his hand resting flat against her stomach, her laughing at something, wine already poured into glasses. I'd registered for at our wedding. Started without me, I said. The blood actually drains from someone's face. It's a real thing. I watched it happen to both of them at once. Theo, man, don't. Beckett started. Just don't. My voice came out level, which scared me more than if it had been shaking. We were going to tell you, he said, taking a step back. I crossed the kitchen in 3 strides. No wind-up. My fist caught him square on the jaw, and he went down against the cabinets, a sound like a dropped sack of flour. Yasmin screamed. Beckett tried to push himself up, one hand cradling his face. I put a knee on his chest and leaned my full weight into it. You're in my house, I said, still calm, with my fiancée, 11 weeks before our wedding. Theo, please. Blood was already running between his fingers. 8 months. I looked up at Yasmin, backed against the counter, hand over her mouth. 8 months, with my best man. I can explain. In our bed? She nodded, one small, terrible nod. Get out, I told Beckett, standing up off him. Get out before I finish. He scrambled toward the door, blood dripping through his fingers onto my floor, glancing once at Yasmin like she might call him back. She didn't go, she whispered. He went, leaving the wine and the gift bag on my counter. I turned to her. You have 1 hour, pack what you can carry. Everything else goes to the curb. You can't just. My lawyer will explain the rest tomorrow. Theo, please, we can talk about this. I set her burner phone on the counter between us. 1 hour. She broke then, real tears this time. Not the performed kind I'd apparently been fed for the better part of a year. Where am I supposed to go? Call your best man. Oh wait, you've had that number on speed dial for 8 months. She ran upstairs. I heard drawers slamming, hangers hitting the floor, her crying in a way I almost felt something about and then didn't. 50 minutes later she came down with 2 suitcases, and a tote bag, makeup smeared, and walked past me without another word. I locked the door behind her. At 9 the locksmith came and changed every lock in the house, garage included. By midnight I had 11 trash bags of her belongings on the curb, clothes, the few books that were hers, a box of old photos of the 2 of us I didn't have the energy to sort through. So it all went out together. At 1:45 in the morning, my phone started exploding. 19 missed calls. My mother, over and over, then a string of texts. What did you do to Beckett? His mother just called me hysterical. I read that text twice. Then I did something that felt better than the punch had. I opened the family group chat. The one we used for holiday planning and birthday reminders. 50-something people. Both sides of the family plus a handful of close family friends who'd basically grown up adjacent to us. I posted the sonogram, front and back, Beckett's handwriting in plain view. Then the bank statements. Hotel charges circled. Then the screenshots from the burner phone, 8 months of it, ending with the message about setting things in motion. I typed one line. Since everyone's going to hear a version of this tomorrow anyway, here's what actually happened. And hit send. The chat detonated. My phone rang again. Mom. I declined it, then blocked the number. My cousin Priya texted separately, just, holy hell, are you okay? My aunt left the group chat entirely. My uncle Reggie wrote one line into the chaos. Beckett's a dead man, and I mean that respectfully. Then I opened Instagram. Beckett ran his freelance video business, mostly through his account, 11,000 followers, half of them past wedding clients. I still had the login from when I'd helped him set up his website 2 years back, and never bothered to get removed as an admin. I posted everything. The messages, the dates, the sonogram. Tagged 3 of his regular venue partners and captioned it. Ask my former best man about loyalty before you book him for your wedding. Within 20 minutes, the post had over 100 comments. People were screenshotting faster than he could have caught up, even if he'd been awake to see it. By the time the account got deleted, it didn't matter. It was already everywhere it needed to be. I called my lawyer at 7 the next morning. A woman named Diane I'd used once for a property line dispute. I need to talk to you about ending an engagement and protecting some assets. Today if possible. By 9 I was in her office laying out everything, printouts, screenshots, the joint account history. She didn't blink. We'll get the joint account fully separated this afternoon, she said. And given the wedding deposits, you may actually have a claim to recover some of those from her directly, depending on whose name is on the contracts. By 2 that afternoon I checked my phone and saw that Beckett's main client, a boutique events company that fed him half his bookings, had posted in their public Facebook group. We've ended our partnership with Beckett Voss, Films effective immediately. We hold our vendors to a standard of professionalism on and off the clock. 3 other couples canceled contracted wedding shoots within the day, posting in local wedding forums about why. At 3, an unknown number called. I almost let it go to voicemail. Theo? This is Carla Whitfield, I'm Yasmin's office manager. Yasmin worked as a senior accountant at a mid-sized firm downtown, the kind of place where client trust was the entire business model. We've had some concerning things forwarded to HR regarding social media posts mentioning Yasmin. I have to ask if you can confirm. That's a conversation for Yasmin and your HR department, I said, not me. The posts suggest conduct that could violate our client confidentiality and ethics policy, given the nature of, check your inbox. I just forwarded you the documentation. I hung up. By evening, the damage had its own momentum. Beckett's equipment partner, who'd co-invested in his camera gear 2 years back, sent a text saying he wanted to dissolve the arrangement and be bought out within 30 days. Yasmin got a message from her firm placing her on administrative leave pending an internal review. I wasn't finished. I went to the bank and moved the rest of what had been our shared savings, just under $24,000, money we'd been stacking toward a house down payment, into an account in my name alone. Since legally it was almost entirely my contributions anyway, documented by 3 years of pay stubs Diane had me pull. I canceled every vendor deposit I could legally cancel for the wedding, and got. Diane started on recovering what we could. From the ones that wouldn't budge without a fight. That night I went and stayed at my buddy Marcus's place. No, not Marcus, a guy from work. Andre on his pull-out couch. Because I genuinely couldn't sleep in that house yet. Around 10, my phone lit up with a text from my mother, unblocked apparently through some other number. Please, we need to talk. As a family. I didn't respond. At 11 the next morning, Diane called. I want to flag something before you go further, she said. Document everything absolutely. But be careful about how aggressively you go after shared assets if you two aren't actually married yet. Courts and contracts treat engagement very differently than marriage. We'll do this clean and defensible, not emotional. I appreciated that more than I let on. I'd been running on adrenaline for almost 48 hours straight. That evening I drove back to the house. Alone for the first time since it all broke open. I sat in the kitchen where it had happened, the faint stain still on the tile no matter how many times I'd scrubbed at it, and, for the first time let myself actually feel something instead of just executing the next step. I didn't cry. I think I was past that point, and into something quieter and colder. At 9, headlights swept across my living room window. 3 cars pulled into my driveway, my mother's Camry, Beckett's Tahoe, and Yasmin's Subaru, the one that hadn't been there 4 days ago when this all started. They walked up together, my mother, first, already wiping her eyes before she even reached the door. Beckett behind her, jaw wired or at least heavily bandaged, moving like every step hurt. Yasmin last, looking like she'd aged 5 years since Tuesday. The doorbell rang. I picked up my phone, hit record and opened the door. Theo please, my mother said before I'd even said hello. We need to talk like a family. I'm recording this, I said. Just so everyone's clear. She pushed past me into the living room like she still had the right to. Sit down. We're going to figure this out like adults. Adults, I said closing the door. Which adults? The one who slept with my fiancée, or the one who got pregnant by my best man 11 weeks before our wedding? Theo, that's enough. My mother snapped. The way she used to when I was 12 and mouthed off at dinner. Beckett couldn't meet my eyes, sitting hunched on my couch with his jaw swollen, gauze taped along one side of his face. Yasmin hovered near the door like she might bolt the second things got worse. You've destroyed his entire business, my mother said. Yasmin's lost her job. Do you understand what you've done? They had 8 months to think about that before they did this. People make mistakes, Theo. A mistake, I said, is forgetting an anniversary. This was a plan. They left the sonogram out on purpose. They wanted me to find it. I pulled the printed screenshots from the folder Diane had helped me assemble and spread them across the coffee table, message after message. My mother's face went white, reading them, the line about setting things in motion. Sitting right there in black and white. Still think I'm being dramatic? Beckett finally spoke, voice thick through the bandaging. I'm sorry, man. You're not sorry. So sorry or you got caught. It wasn't supposed to. 8 months, Beckett. Yasmin stepped forward. Theo, think about what this does to everyone. To your mom, too. I am thinking about everyone. That's why every vendor deposit just got pulled, and every dollar in that account just got separated. Her face crumbled. You can't just take everything. I didn't take anything that wasn't already mine. I just stopped pretending it was ours. My mother picked up the bank documentation off the table. Read it again. You moved all of this already? This morning and the baby, she said quieter now. What happens with the baby? I looked at Yasmin then at Beckett. That's between the two of you. It was never mine to plan for. You can't just abandon. Yasmin started. I'm not abandoning anything. I was never the father. That's not abandonment, that's math. Beckett pushed himself up off the couch, anger flickering through the pain meds. You vindictive son of a. Careful, I said taking one step toward him. You're in my house again. He sat back down. My mother was crying for real now, not the performance crying from the doorway. This family is falling apart. No, I said. It fell apart 8 months ago. You just found out about it tonight. That's not fair. You spent 30 years telling me how lucky you were. That Beckett turned out so easygoing, so likable, while I was just the responsible one. You bought him a $5,000 camera rig for his 30th birthday and got me a gift card to a hardware store for mine. I never said anything about it. Because I didn't need to be the favorite. But don't stand in my house and ask me to be reasonable about the guy you basically raised as a second son sleeping with my fiancée. Nobody had an answer for that. Yasmin spoke up suddenly, her voice different, smaller. Can we talk? Just us. 2 minutes. We have lawyers for that now. Please, Theo. 2 minutes. Something in her face made me say yes. We stepped out onto the porch, the others staying inside in their own version of silence. What? I said. She was shaking, actually shaking, not the performed kind. I need to tell you something and I need you to actually hear it. If this is about the baby being mine somehow, save it. I know the math. It's not that. She wouldn't look at me. I told Beckett I was 11 weeks along. I'm actually closer to 15. I lied about the date so the timing would line up easier with him instead of with. She stopped herself. Instead of with what? There was someone before Beckett. Briefly. Right around when things first started going sideways with us. It might not even be his. The porch light buzzed overhead. I just looked at her. You don't even know whose child this is. I'm telling you because I don't want to lie to anyone else about it. I've lied enough. That's not an apology, Yasmin. That's just a different lie with better timing. I opened the door behind me. Get off my porch. All of you. Theo, wait, we're done. Lawyers, not living rooms, from here on. They left eventually. My mother throwing one last look back at me from the driveway. Somewhere between fury and grief, I watched the taillights disappear around the corner and went back inside to a house that finally felt like mine again, even with the stain still on the tile. The next few weeks moved in a strange business-like blur. Diane finalized the asset separation cleanly. Courts don't recognize engagements the way they recognize marriages. But with documentation on my side, I recovered most of what mattered, including nearly all the wedding deposits, since every contract had been signed under my name and card. The townhouse stayed mine outright. It had always been mine outright. Something I was grateful for in a way I hadn't expected to be. Beckett's business never recovered. His equipment partner bought him out for a fraction of what the gear was worth just to be done with it. Word travels fast in a market the size of Charlotte's wedding industry. And the videographer who slept with the groom's fiancée and got caught on tape mid-affair isn't the kind of headline that fades. Last I heard through my cousin Priya, he'd moved to Knoxville and was doing real estate listing videos for a living. Yasmin lost her position permanently. The firm's ethics review didn't go her way. And accounting firms don't forgive a public scandal involving client confidentiality concerns. Even tangential ones. She's doing freelance bookkeeping now, a third of what she used to make. The DNA situation, as I eventually learned secondhand, never got fully resolved between her and Beckett the way she'd hoped. He wanted nothing to do with the possibility that it wasn't his. And the guy from before, Beckett, wanted even less to do with it. Last I heard, she's raising the baby largely on her own outside the city. My mother tried for almost 3 months. Calls, texts, one unannounced visit I didn't answer the door for. She finally sent an actual letter, handwritten, 4 pages, equal parts apology and self-justification. The kind of letter that almost gets you and then reminds you exactly why it shouldn't. I never wrote back. I don't know if I will. As for me, I got promoted to project manager about 5 months after all of it. Overseeing 2 sites instead of 1. Funny how much bandwidth you free up when you're not spending it, pretending not to notice things. I started seeing someone, a structural engineer named Priscilla I met through a coworker, completely unconnected to any of this, no shared history to untangle. She has her own divorce in her past, her own scars, her own clear-eyed way of not rushing anything. We're not in a hurry. I like that about her. A couple months ago I ran into Yasmin at a grocery store on the south side of town, somewhere neither of us used to shop, which felt almost deliberate in how unplanned it was. She had the baby in a carrier, looked exhausted in the specific way new, unsupported parents look exhausted. She saw me first. For a second I thought she might come over. She didn't. She just looked at me across 2 aisles, and I looked back, and there wasn't anger left in it on my end, not really. Just distance. The kind that doesn't close back up. I nodded once. Not forgiveness. Not even acknowledgement exactly. Just a fact registering between 2 people who used to share a life and don't anymore. Then I turned back to my cart and finished my shopping. Some things, once they break, don't go back together the way they were. Some choices can't be undone no matter how many letters you write afterward. And some people figure that out only after it's already too late to matter. That's not my problem to carry anymore. It never really was.